The Galactic Council chamber shimmered with 1,000 colors as representatives from every known civilization gathered to witness what they believed would be a comedy show rather than a military presentation. At the center of the room, a holographic projection displayed humanity's newest creation, the Titan-1 warship, a colossal vessel of dark steel and angular design that stood in sharp contrast to the sleek, curved, and elegant crafts favored by most advanced species. Whispers filled the air, mixed with laughter and condescending smiles, as alien diplomats exchanged mocking remarks about Earth's so-called flagship. The Kareth Empire's High Commander, Lord Vezar, whose species had ruled the galactic lanes for centuries, leaned forward with a cruel grin and said, "How quaint. It looks like something dragged from the scrapyard of an ancient war." Others joined in the laughter, their voices echoing across the marble walls. The humans present at the far end of the chamber, a small group led by Captain Elias Ward, remained still, their faces unreadable. Elias, dressed in a simple dark uniform, did not rise to their insults. Instead, he studied the shimmering hologram of his ship, and then the smug faces surrounding him. When silence finally returned, he spoke only once, his voice calm and firm. "Looks can deceive." His words hung in the air, unanswered, almost forgotten as the laughter resumed. To the Council, humanity was still young, new to interstellar politics, newcomers from a backwater world still learning the rules of the cosmos. They had built a ship, yes, but no one in that chamber believed it could stand against a true war fleet. A few minutes later, the session adjourned, the decision made to deny Earth a position in the Council's defense alliance. As the humans walked out, some aliens even clapped mockingly. Yet behind Elias's calm eyes was a different kind of fire, the quiet confidence of someone who knew something the galaxy did not. Titan-1 was not just a warship. It was a message. Weeks passed, and whispers spread across the stars that the Kareth Empire had moved ships into the Sol border system. Officially, it was a training patrol. Unofficially, it was a test. The Kareth wanted to see just how primitive Earth really was. In the command deck of Titan-1, orbiting above Saturn's shimmering rings, Captain Elias stood with his crew watching the approaching signatures. 6 Kareth warships, fast, heavily armed, and confident, glided into human space like predators searching for prey. "Incoming transmission," reported Lieutenant Diaz, her voice steady. The Kareth commander appeared on screen, his pale reptilian face curled in a mocking smile. "Humans," he hissed, "we are conducting a routine patrol. Your vessel appears outdated. We would like to see how long it stays intact." The bridge crew stiffened, but Elias didn't move. "We're not here to fight," he replied, his voice even. "Stand down and return to your border." The alien commander laughed, a harsh, echoing sound that filled the deck. "Stand down? You should be grateful we even noticed your existence." And with that, the transmission ended. Moments later, the first Kareth shot blazed through the void, a glowing bolt of plasma that struck Titan-1 directly across its hull. The bridge trembled lightly, but the ship didn't falter. Not even a scorch mark appeared on its surface. Confusion rippled through the alien fleet as the humans stared at the data screens in quiet awe. "Captain, hull integrity." Diaz started, but Elias cut her off with a nod. 100%, exactly as expected." Outside, the Titan-1 floated silently, its matte black armor absorbing the light of Saturn's rings. The aliens fired again, this time with heavier energy volleys, but the result was the same. Their weapons flared, then dimmed, harmless against the human ship. Slowly, the laughter began to fade from alien channels as reality set in. "Sir, they're regrouping," said Ensign Malik, his eyes scanning the sensors. Elias clasped his hands behind his back and replied quietly, "Let them. They're trying to understand what they can't measure. Inside the alien command ship, panic was starting to bloom. "They're shielding! It's reflecting our scans!" one Kareth technician cried. "Impossible!" growled their commander. "No primitive species could develop counter-adaptive plating." But as the Titan-1 rotated slightly, its engines glowing with an eerie blue hue, the Kareth fleet found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about human technology. Back on Titan-1, the crew remained composed. The ship's hum deepened, the sound of its power core resonating like a heartbeat. "Captain," said Ava Karim, the chief engineer, her voice calm but curious, "the energy readings are stable. The ship isn't even defending itself, it's just existing." Elias allowed a faint smile. "That's enough for now. Let them wonder." The crew watched as the alien ships slowly backed away, their sensors unable to comprehend what they were facing. For the first time in recorded history, the mighty Kareth had fired on a human vessel and accomplished nothing. As the fleet withdrew, Elias turned toward the viewport, watching the distant sun glint off the rings of Saturn. "They think we're primitive," he murmured. "Let's give them time to decide if they still believe that." The bridge fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Outside, the Titan-1 remained motionless, its surface gleaming faintly in the dim light. It had not fired a single weapon, yet it had already changed the way the galaxy saw humanity. Somewhere far away, the Galactic Council received the first reports of the encounter, and for the first time in centuries, the laughter stopped. They had mocked humanity's design, but soon they would learn that the Titan-1 was not built to impress. It was built to survive, and that was something no alien species had ever truly understood. The silence of space lingered long after the Kareth fleet retreated, their engines burning trails of shame across the darkness, and aboard the Titan-1, every crew member stood quietly at their post, realizing that something extraordinary had just occurred. The so-called primitive ship had faced one of the galaxy's most feared empires and had not even flinched. Captain Elias Ward remained by the viewport, his gaze steady as Saturn's faint glow illuminated the steel lines of the ship. "They'll be back," he said finally, his voice calm but heavy with certainty. Dr. Ava Karim nodded beside him, her expression thoughtful. "They won't accept what happened. They'll try again. Harder this time." Elias gave a faint smile, not of pride, but of quiet confidence. "Then they'll learn what humanity really is." Across the next few days, communications buzzed across the galactic network. Reports of the failed Kareth assault spread like wildfire. Many species refused to believe it. Others dismissed it as propaganda. But to the Kareth High Command, it was an embarrassment that demanded revenge. Deep in their capital system, fleets were mobilized again, not 6 ships this time, but 60, led by Lord Vezar himself. The galaxy watched in anticipation, expecting a swift and brutal human defeat. Yet on Earth and throughout the human colonies, there was no panic. Instead, there was focus. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, and the Titan-1 was the culmination of everything they had learned, both from their own ingenuity and from something else, something they had discovered decades earlier beneath the ice of Antarctica. When the Kareth fleet arrived on the edge of the Sol system, sensors across Titan-1's bridge lit up like stars. 60 warships, reported Lieutenant Diaz, her tone calm despite the impossible odds. "All weapons armed, they're coming straight for us." The crew waited for the captain's command, but Elias did not rush. Instead, he turned to Dr. Karim. "Activate the core. Let's show them the truth." Deep within the ship, the hidden power source hummed to life. It wasn't nuclear, plasma, or fusion. It was something the world had never fully understood, a relic of ancient energy that had been discovered and mastered only by human curiosity. The Titan-1 began to glow softly, its hull lines pulsing with golden light. Out in space, the Kareth ships locked targets charging their cannons. Lord Vezar sneered. "Let's end this farce. A storm of plasma fire erupted, the combined might of an empire unleashed on one human ship. But when the energy reached Titan-1, it bent. It didn't explode, didn't shatter, didn't even touch the hull. The energy was drawn in, absorbed, as if the ship itself drank the attack like water. Then, without a sound, Titan-1 released a wave of light across the void. It wasn't a weapon. It was a pulse, a resonance that rippled through space, silencing every engine, every weapon, every system across the Kareth fleet. Their ships went dark, their crews trapped in stunned silence as the human warship floated serenely before them, untouched. On Titan-1's bridge, the readings were clear. "Their entire fleet is disabled," reported Malik in disbelief. No power signatures detected. Ava looked at Elias. "Do we fire?" she asked softly. The captain shook his head. "No, we send a message." He activated the comms, his voice steady and calm, broadcasted on every open channel. "Humanity does not seek war, but if you bring it to our door, you will find we've learned how to end it before it begins." Across the galaxy, that transmission was heard by billions. On the Kareth flagship, Lord Vezar's screens flickered, his crew powerless, his pride shattered. "What are they?" he whispered. The Titan-1's light dimmed as its engines reactivated, restoring the silence of space. Within hours, the human ship turned and began its slow course back toward Earth, leaving behind 60 powerless vessels drifting in its wake. The Kareth would survive, but their empire would never forget the humiliation. Days later, the Galactic Council assembled again. No one laughed this time. The same delegates who had mocked humanity now sat in silence, watching the replay of Titan-1's encounter. The words primitive warship were never spoken again. Instead, whispers of impossible and magnificent filled the chamber. When Captain Elias Ward appeared by hologram before the council, no one dared interrupt. "Humanity will not be ruled," he said simply. "We will stand with peace, but never beneath fear." The council voted unanimously to grant Earth full membership, not out of generosity, but out of respect. And perhaps quiet caution. As the session ended, Dr. Ava Karim stood beside Elias on Titan-1's observation deck, watching the stars unfold beyond. "Do you think they'll ever understand what we found under the ice?" she asked. Elias smiled faintly, his reflection framed by the golden glow of the ship. "Maybe someday. For now it's enough that they understand this. Humanity may build in steel, but our strength has always come from within." The ship drifted silently into the vastness of space, its engines whispering like a heartbeat, carrying not just a crew, but a message that would echo through galaxies. Humanity had never been primitive, only patient, and now the universe would never laugh again. Weeks passed, and the ripples of Titan-1's victory spread across the galaxy like a storm no one could contain. In the Galactic Council, silence turned to whispers, whispers turned to questions, and soon entire species were reassessing what they thought they knew about humans. News feeds across star systems replayed the moment when the so-called primitive warship had disabled 60 Kareth vessels without firing a shot. Some called it impossible, others called it divine, but most simply called it terrifying. The Kareth Empire, humiliated yet stubborn, refused to let the story end there. Lord Vezar vanished from public view, but in the shadows of his empire, scientists worked endlessly to understand the human ship's secret. They collected debris from the battlefield, analyzed energy signatures, and even captured fragments of static left in subspace. But nothing made sense. Every reading returned patterns that seemed older than known physics. Back on Earth, Captain Elias Ward and Dr. Ava Karim stood before the United Earth Assembly, answering questions not about war, but about peace. "They will come again," one counselor warned. "Empires do not forget humiliation." Elias only nodded. "Then we'll be ready. Titan-1 was never built for pride. It was built for survival. After the meeting, Ava followed him to the ship's hangar, where Titan-1 rested under the glow of dock lights, its dark hull pulsing faintly with golden veins. "The core is changing," she said quietly. "Ever since the pulse, it's been growing stronger." Elias glanced at the readings. They showed strange energy fluctuations that didn't match any known technology. "It's adapting," he murmured, or maybe remembering. That night, as Earth rotated below, the stars above seemed to shift, aligning in patterns the ship's sensors had never seen before. Something, or someone, was responding. In a distant nebula, far beyond Council territory, an ancient relay station blinked to life after centuries of silence. Its sensors had detected the same frequency that Titan-1 had released during the battle, a resonance not heard since before most of the Council races existed. Deep within that nebula, buried under ice and stone on a forgotten world, machinery older than civilization began to stir. The pulse had awakened it. Unknown to humanity, the energy core that powered Titan-1 was not merely human technology. It was a fragment of something vast, something left behind by a race that had vanished long before the current galaxy had learned to walk among the stars. The Council called them myths. Old records named them the architects. Now the frequency that had silenced the Kareth fleet had also called out to their remnants. On Titan-1, the readings began to spike. "Captain," Ava said urgently, "the core's resonance is syncing with something beyond the system. I don't know what it is, but it's powerful." Elias turned to his crew. "Trace it." Within moments, a faint beacon appeared on their charts, an uncharted world on the outer edge of Council space, glowing with the same strange signature as their own reactor. "That's where it came from," Elias said quietly, "and maybe where it all began." The bridge fell silent as he gave the order. "Prepare for long-range jump." As the engines roared to life, the crew felt the ship tremble with a low, melodic hum, as though it was excited to go home. "Coordinates locked," Diaz reported. "Jump in 3, 2, 1. Space folded around them, and Titan-1 vanished into a corridor of light. Hours later, they emerged near a dying star surrounded by fragments of shattered moons. In its orbit floated what appeared to be a massive ring, metallic, ancient, and pulsing faintly with the same golden glow as Titan-1's hull. "By the stars," Malik whispered. "It's enormous." The scanners identified it as a structure larger than any known station, its architecture unlike anything human or alien. "Captain," Ava said, "it's alive. The ring is responding to our signal." As they drifted closer, faint symbols began to appear across the surface, glowing brighter with every passing second. A deep vibration resonated through the hull, and the ship's systems flickered as if the structure was speaking directly to it. The lights on the bridge dimmed. "Elias," Ava whispered. "It knows us." The captain didn't move. "No," he said slowly. "It knows the core." Outside, the stars themselves seemed to fade as the massive ring turned, aligning perfectly with Titan-1's trajectory. Somewhere in the deep black, a soft voice echoed through the comms. Not human, not alien, but something in between. "You have awakened the memory of the architects," it said. "The Guardians return." The crew froze, staring at one another in disbelief. And for the first time since the Titan-1 was built, Captain Elias Ward did not know whether humanity's greatest creation had just saved them, or summoned something far beyond their control. The bridge of the Titan-1 fell into stunned silence as the ancient voice faded into static, leaving behind only the soft hum of the ship's reactors and the rhythmic pulse of the colossal ring before them. Every sensor flickered, struggling to process what had just happened. Dr. Ava Karim's hands flew across the console as she whispered, "Captain, the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever this is, it's connecting to us." Captain Elias Ward stood motionless at the viewport, his eyes locked on the vast structure spinning slowly in the distance, its light now matching the exact heartbeat rhythm of Titan-1's core. "Open a secure channel," he said finally. "Let's see if it speaks again." The crew waited, but instead of words, a wave of light spread across the ring's surface, forming symbols that shifted like living script. The translation system struggled, piecing together fragments of meaning. Origin confirmed. Code inheritance verified. Successor acknowledged. Ava turned to Elias, her expression filled with both awe and fear. "It's calling us the successors." The captain frowned. "Successors of what?" Before she could answer, the ship lurched as an invisible pull dragged Titan-1 toward the ring. The engines roared automatically to resist, but the power drain was instant, like gravity itself had decided to rewrite its rules. "Engine output dropping," Diaz shouted. "We're being pulled in." Outside, the golden ring expanded like a massive eye opening to welcome them. And then, with a burst of light brighter than a sun, the ship vanished inside. When the glare faded, Titan-1 was no longer in normal space. The crew stared out at a sky filled with swirling lights, patterns that bent and moved like living rivers of color. Massive shapes floated in the distance, structures of impossible design, half machine, half organic, drifting in silence. "This isn't hyperspace," Malik murmured. "It's something else." The sensors displayed coordinates that made no sense, distances that folded in on themselves. And yet, despite the chaos, everything felt calm. "It's beautiful," Ava whispered. "I think we're inside the memory field of the architects." The systems around them came alive with golden streams of data. The voice returned, softer this time, no longer distant but close, inside their minds. "You are the children of the ones who built the stars," it said. "You have inherited our light." Elias took a deep breath. "Why now? Why us?" The voice seemed a sigh, like the wind moving through time. "Because you remembered. Because when others sought to destroy, you chose restraint. The core responded to your mercy." On the bridge, the crew exchanged looks, realizing the truth. The pulse that had silenced the Kareth fleet had not been an act of aggression. It had been a test. The architects had designed their technology to respond only to those who sought peace before power. Humanity had passed, without even knowing they were being judged. As they floated deeper into the shimmering field, an enormous shape loomed ahead, a structure shaped like a star, its surface covered with glowing veins of energy. "Captain, it's generating power levels equivalent to a small sun," Ava said, awe in her voice. The star structure opened, revealing a chamber vast enough to house entire fleets. Within it, crystalline orbs rotated slowly, each one holding faint silhouettes of ships similar in design to Titan-1 but older, scarred and silent. "Are those—" Malik whispered. "Other warships." The voice spoke again. "Guardians who came before. They fell when mercy was forgotten." The bridge dimmed as Titan-1 drifted into position. A beam of light connected the ship's core to the heart of the structure, and data began streaming through every console. "It's downloading something," Diaz said. "Knowledge, blueprints, histories, all in our system." Ava's eyes widened as she watched the information unfold. "Captain, this could change everything. They're giving us access to technology that defies physics itself." Elias nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the light outside. "Or maybe they're giving us responsibility." For a moment, no one spoke. Then the voice returned one last time. "Take what you need, children of Earth, but remember, every civilization that forgets humility is erased by its own hand. Be wiser than those who came before." The light surrounding them began to fade, the colors dissolving into the darkness of normal space once more. Titan-1 reappeared above the ruins of the ring, now silent and cold, its energy finally spent. The crew looked around, realizing they were alone again, but changed forever. "Did that really happen?" Malik asked quietly. Ava nodded. "We have their data, their warnings, their legacy." She turned toward Elias. "What now, Captain?" He studied the faint stars outside and replied, "Now we go home and make sure humanity deserves what it's been given." The engines roared back to life, pushing the Titan-1 toward the distant shimmer of Earth's sun, unaware that far across the galaxy, the Kareth Empire's sensors had also detected the impossible energy surge. They too had seen the light. And somewhere in their war rooms, Lord Vezar whispered a vow that the galaxy would soon tremble again, not at the sight of human weakness, but at the power that humanity had now awakened. As Titan-1 cruised silently through the void, the stars around it seemed to burn brighter than before. The crew was quiet, each of them lost in thought, trying to understand what had just happened. They were no longer explorers or soldiers. They were witnesses to something that defied time itself. In the engineering bay, the ship's reactor pulsed with a new rhythm, softer, almost alive. Dr. Ava Karim watched the holographic readouts in awe. The system's efficiency had doubled overnight. "It's like the core learned something," she murmured. Captain Elias Ward joined her, eyes scanning the glowing data streams. "Maybe it did," he said. "Maybe we all did." Across the decks, crew members spoke in hushed voices about what they had seen. Ancient voices, living light, and warnings that felt as real as the stars themselves. Humanity had been chosen, not for strength, but for restraint. And that truth carried more weight than any weapon. Days later, the Titan-1 re-entered the Sol system. Earth's blue glow filled the view screen, familiar yet distant. As the ship descended toward the orbital command station, messages flooded in from every colony and fleet division. The mysterious pulse that had saved them from annihilation had been detected across hundreds of light years. Every world wanted answers. "Tell them the truth," Elias said during the briefing. "Tell them we found something that wants us to be better than we are." Some officers scoffed, others remained silent. The idea that a civilization as young as humanity had been tested by ancient beings was hard to accept. But the data didn't lie. The architect code had embedded itself into Titan-1's systems, rewriting the rules of energy, propulsion, even matter itself. Humanity suddenly possessed the keys to reshape the stars. But only if it remembered the warning: mercy before power. As the weeks passed, scientists and leaders argued about what to do with the new knowledge. Some saw salvation, others saw conquest. Ava spent long nights staring out at Earth, wondering which path her species would choose. One evening, she joined Elias on the observation deck. The planet hung below them like a fragile jewel. "They're already talking about weaponizing it," she said softly. Elias didn't respond at first. Then he turned to her, voice firm but calm. "That's why we're here. To remind them that power without purpose is the end of everything." Ava nodded, her heart heavy with both hope and fear. Months later, the Titan-1 was decommissioned, sealed within a lunar dry dock under the highest level of security. Officially, it was listed as a failed prototype. Unofficially, it became a myth, the ship that met the architects. The crew went their separate ways, sworn to silence. Yet sometimes, when the night sky was clear and the stars shimmered brighter than usual, those who had served aboard the Titan-1 could feel it. A faint hum beneath the silence, a reminder that the architects were still watching. Somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the dormant rings waited, patient and eternal, their purpose fulfilled but not forgotten. And far across the galaxy, deep within the Kareth Empire's hidden world, Lord Vezar stood before a massive hologram showing the energy signature of Titan-1's encounter. So, he said, his voice a low growl. "The humans have awakened the architect's legacy." His advisors trembled as he turned to them. "Prepare our fleets. If humanity wields their power, we will take it from them." But as the chamber dimmed, the same pulse of golden light that had saved Titan-1 flickered briefly through the data streams, as if warning him that some powers are not meant to be stolen. Back on Earth, Captain Elias Ward recorded his final log entry. "We were tested, and for once, we passed. The architects gave us a gift, not of weapons, but of understanding. The question now isn't whether we're strong enough to use it. It's whether we're wise enough not to." He closed the log and looked out at the stars, whispering the same words the ancient voice had spoken. "Children of Earth, be worthy." The hum of the Titan-1 echoed faintly one last time, then faded into silence as the stars beyond glowed softly, a promise, or perhaps a warning, that the story of humanity had only just begun.